September 22, 1979. It's midnight at around 3 o'clock. Something happened in the deserted waters of the southern Indian Ocean that humanity should not have seen. A U.S. spy satellite in space detected a 2-second, huge pair of flashes in the darkness. This was the fingerprint of a nuclear explosion. However, neither a state responsibility was held, nor a test announcement was made. What exploded there that night? Why is the secret that brought the world to the brink of a nuclear war still hidden in the state archives? Today, we descend into the dark depths of the 1979 Vela incident. To understand the event, we must first recognize the Vela satellites. These satellites were specifically designed to control the 1963 Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. They had sensitive optical sensors called bang meter on them. When there is a nuclear explosion, the fireball first emits a very bright light as it expands, then the shockwave ionizes the air and briefly screens the light, and then shines again. In short, the Vela 6911 satellite was originally designed to control nuclear tests. The double flash mechanism is a phenomenon unique to nuclear atomic bombs. Scientists were shocked when they examined the data. The signal was 100% real. The explosion occurred near the deserted Prince Edward Islands between Antarctica and South Africa. In the most tense years of the Cold War, no one could be so brave, or so reckless. When the Vela 6911 satellite sent this data to the center that night, the blood of the analysts at the Pentagon froze. The intensity of the explosion was between 2 and 3 kilotons. If you have to make a comparison, it's about 1/6 of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It's a small but deadly test. The arrows instantly turned into two countries, South Africa and Israel. At that time, South Africa was isolated from the world due to the racist apartheid regime. Israel, on the other hand, maintained a policy of strategic uncertainty about its nuclear program. However, intelligence reports whispered that these two countries were in a secret military exchange, Israel's technology and South Africa's uranium. Allegedly, this was Operation Phoenix. It was thought that the explosion was carried out in a storm, thus aimed at mixing the radioactive fallout into the rain and the ocean. If this is true, the world was witnessing the birth of a new and uncontrolled nuclear power. He whispered that these two excluded states had formed a secret technology mining partnership. Israel's scientific genius and South Africa's uranium deposits were sufficient for a nuclear power. The explosion was thought to have been deliberately brought into a huge storm, so that the rain would bury radioactive dust deep into the ocean. But there was one thing they didn't calculate: nature always leaves a mark. After the incident, US President Jimmy Carter got into a big impasse. If this was a nuclear test, he had to sanction his allies by law. This meant a political suicide in the upcoming elections. The White House immediately formed a delegation called the Ruina Panel. After months of debate, the panel made this absurd statement: it was probably not a nuclear explosion. Perhaps it was an optical error caused by a small meteoroid that hit the satellite's lens. However, independent scientists never believed this space dust story. Why? Because that night, underwater listening devices, hydrophones, in the area recorded a huge explosion. Moreover, the Arecibo radio telescope detected a peculiar fluctuation in the ionosphere. And the most concrete evidence, weeks after the incident, traces of radioactive iodine-131 were found in the thyroid glands of sheep in Australia. The wind had carried the radiation thousands of miles away. The evidence was there, but the political will chose to cover up the facts. Today, the Vela incident is still officially unresolved. However, in 2016, documents leaked from the National Security Archive revealed that the US administration was 100% confident that the incident was actually a nuclear test. There was high-level correspondence in the documents that Israel had carried out this test. So, why is it still hiding? Because the Vela incident is the biggest evidence of how fragile the nuclear disarmament efforts are. This event taught us that technology sees everything, but power can cover everything. South Africa destroyed all of its nuclear weapons in the 1990s and became the first and only country to do so. However, the secrets about that night are still locked in the deepest coffers of Pretoria and Tel Aviv. That glow in the middle of the ocean wasn't just a light. It was a moment when secret diplomacy and nuclear horror were combined. Maybe one day all the archives will be opened, maybe the depths of the ocean, the only witness of what happened that night, will never speak. But remember this: some secrets are kept not just so that someone's peace does not escape, but so that the balance of the world is not disturbed. What do you think happened there that night? A star shift, or the biggest scam in history?